I get it, you're standing in front of the aisle of dust collectors, scrolling through endless options, and the last thing you want is to drop your hard-earned cash on a machine that just sits there gathering dust. You're wondering if the SUPERMAX 11 has HP dust collector is the right fit for the little shop you've got in the garage, or if you'll end up with a piece of equipment that barely moves the air and just adds another noise source to the room. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'm going to walk through exactly what you can expect from this unit before you decide to click add to cart. First, let's talk about what a dust collector actually does for a hobbyist or a small shop environment. In a perfect world, you'd have a compact box that pulls a steady stream of air through a filter, trapping sawdust, shavings, and fine particles before they escape into the house. The key variables are suction power, usually measured in horsepower or CFM, the size and type of filter, how loud the motor runs, and how easy the whole system is to hook up to your tools. When you're working with a table saw, a router, or a small bandsaw, you need enough airflow to keep the dust line moving, but you don't want a massive industrial-grade unit that dominates your floor space or costs a fortune. That's where the SUPERMAX 11 halves HP model tries to land. At 11 halves horsepower, it sits in the middle of the small shop spectrum, more powerful than a basic HP portable unit, but far below the 35 HP machines you'd see in a professional woodworking shop. The idea is that you get enough pull to handle occasional sanding or cutting, while keeping the footprint small enough to tuck under a workbench or slide into a corner. The unit is sold on Amazon, and its rating sits at 2.6 out of 5 stars from just under 300 reviewers, which already tells you the community is split. A rating that low isn't a guarantee that it will fail for you, but it does flag that a significant number of buyers have run into issues that might be relevant to your own situation. Let's dig into the practical strengths. The first thing most users notice is the compact chassis. It's about the size of a large cooler, so if you've got limited floor space, you can actually fit it where a standard 5-gallon bucket would go. Setting it up is straightforward. You attach the inlet hose, plug it in, and flip the power switch. There are no extra belts, no complicated wiring, and the filter cartridge is designed to slide in and out without tools. For someone who just wants to get dust out of the air while they sand a piece of pine or trim a piece of plywood, that plug-and-play simplicity is a real time saver. Another upside is the price point. Compared with larger, more powerful units that easily run into the high hundreds, the SUPERMAX model lands in a budget-friendly range. If you're a hobbyist who only needs to capture dust a few times a week, the lower upfront cost can make a lot of sense. The unit also includes a basic filter bag that can handle the typical sawdust you generate from a table saw or a handheld router. For light use, that bag doesn't need to be swapped out often, which keeps ongoing maintenance simple. Now for the practical weaknesses, the reasons the rating isn't higher. First, the 11 halves HP motor, while adequate for small jobs, can struggle when you try to run multiple tools at once or when you're working with thicker material that generates a lot of fine particles. Users have reported that the airflow drops noticeably once the filter bag starts to fill, and the motor begins to sound louder, almost like a kitchen blender on high. In a tight garage, that noise can become a nuisance, especially if you're trying to have a conversation or listen to a podcast while you work. Second, the filtration system is basic. The included bag is good for coarse dust, but it doesn't trap the ultrafine particles that you might see when sanding or using a belt sander. If you have respiratory sensitivities or you're trying to keep the air in a small, poorly ventilated space clean, you'll likely need to upgrade to a higher efficiency filter or add an external HEPA system. That extra cost can erode the budget advantage you initially thought you were getting. Third, durability is a point of contention. The metal housing feels solid enough for occasional use, but a few reviewers mentioned that the hinges on the filter door became loose after a few months of regular operation. If you plan to run the collector daily for several hours, that wear could become a problem, forcing you to either repair the unit or replace it sooner than you'd like. Who should consider buying this dust collector? If you're a weekend woodworker who spends a few evenings a month sanding a project, you have a limited bench area, and you don't need